Hello there, this is the FM21 A-League Rundown. I am Charlie. Feast your eyes on the Mariners' massive universe on Football Manager 2021. Here on the Rundown, we look at all the events and results of the past week in the A-League, and if that is your bag, give this video a cheeky like, and if you're feeling brave, a subscribe. We start at the beginning of the alphabet with Adelaide United. Just one game in the past week for Carl Vert's side, as they lost an original rivalry clash to Melbourne Victory. Not at Cooper Stadium, but for the first time this season, they contested a game at the Adelaide Oval. Whatever you do, do not believe rumours of a takeover at Cooper Stadium. According to the Australian Football Chronicle, any potential offer is unlikely to succeed. Now, I suspect that this is a bit of a cheeky double bluff, and there will be new owners in the coming weeks for the Reds. Brisbane Roar lost to ourselves, the Mariners, by 3-2, thanks to two late Alu Kual goals. And who is it that says Football Manager is unrealistic? Joey Champness with both Roar goals that day, before they contested a goalless draw with Melbourne Victory. Jack Hingert has picked up a twisted ankle, with Josh Brindle-South expected to deputise in the coming weeks. They have also signed up Tom Aldred to a 3-year contract. Really good signing this for the Raw. He was last season, played in a back three under Robbie Fowler. I don't think it was his bag really. He's much better off in a 2 alongside Macaulay Gillespie. They're one of the really good central defensive partnerships in the A-League, and signing him up for another 3 years, both digitally and I believe in real life as well. Another example of art imitating life, or the other way around. Aldred with a new 3-year deal to remain at the club until May 2024. In terms of ourselves, the Mariners, it's been another good week for the Central Coast, as we claimed 4 points in tough fixtures against Brisbane Roar and the Sky Blues Sydney FC. Mila Jedinak, now an under-18 coach for Aston Villa, may have warned us about Milos Dinkovic, as you can see, but he did still score from the spot in a 1-1 stalemate. Honours even at the Jubilee Stadium, but referee Stephen Lucas had an excellent game. You always like to see that. There you go. Opened the scoring was Stefan Jankovic, and then Ninkovic, the Serbian, I believe, added the equaliser for the hosts. MacArthur were 2 goals up against Western United, thanks to a Josh Risdon own goal, and veteran striker Matt Derbyshire was on the score sheet before big game Besart Barisha came to the party with 2 goals to ensure that the two clubs shared the spoils at Campbelltown Stadium. The headline, however, suggests that MacArthur were lucky to get a draw. Perhaps the Western United side came on strong into the second half, and it certainly was Barisha there with the goals, 68th minute and the 72nd minute. So 2 goals in 4 minutes turned things on its head there in Campbelltown, in front of, obviously, the Cowbells. A quiet week for Melbourne City saw the Citizens record draws against both Sydney SC and Brisbane. It was City Blue versus Sky Blue, and it was 1-1 following goals from Jamie McLaren and Trent Bahaja. Both games are played at Amy Park. As you can see, there has been big news in the A-League. We will come on to that shortly. Kisnorbo here hinting at a deal for Craig Noone. Possibly could be on his way to Western United. Mark Rudan, known as a really big fan of his. Birken Kerdar and Jake Brimmer secured the win for Melbourne Victory in the original rivalry. But the big news could be Liam Reddy about to represent his 8th A-League club, as he is on Grant Brebner's shopping list. Matt Acton's days could be numbered with the big V. If we have a quick look here at Liam Reddy's profile, his history started off in the lower leagues there, Parramatta, Sydney United, Newcastle Jets for a season, Queensland Roar, now of course Brisbane Roar in the A-League. Then we've got Wellington Phoenix, Sydney FC, bit of a jaunt abroad to Iran for a year, didn't seem to play, came back to Australia with Sydney United, and then we've got ourselves the Mariners, Western Sydney Wanderers, before a 5-year stint with Perth Glory. One of the best keepers in the A-League, we'd say. Possibly. Problem with Perth is that they do have quite strong defenders, or certainly have had in the past couple of seasons. Perhaps not as much this year. So we will see a lot more of him and see him tested, certainly in real life. Newcastle Jets were back to losing ways this week. They were battered at McDonald Jones Stadium by Wellington Phoenix. However, I'm going to gloss over this for a second because we're going to go back to it when we go into in depth with Wellington Phoenix. John Catrumbus has signed a new 4-year deal. So only 22 years old. Seems like he's been around for a while. But he is just a young player. But he signed for a long-term deal to remain at the Hunter side. Really good signing, I think. I like Johnny Catrumbus. I think he's done well. Certainly this year, playing alongside Nigel Bogard and Nikolai Topor-Stanley. There was a bit of a worry about him when they signed James Donachie. He has since gone out on loan, so he's not part of the Jet squad this season. Catrumbus, though, I think has been probably their best defender this year in real life. Not too sure about what's been happening in Football Manager, especially because the Jets have been on a pretty bad run. We have a very quick look at how they've progressed. Look at that. 2 wins at the start of the season, but then nothing until a 3-2 win against Melbourne City. That game celebrated in front of almost 12,000 fans in the Hunter. It was Roy O'Donovan with the late winner there in injury time. Unfortunately, didn't quite happen for them as they welcomed Wellington Phoenix just 2 days ago. A 1-1 draw against Western Sydney Wanderers was thanks to a late Diego Castro leveller. However, that has to be said, it has been overshadowed somewhat, as old Diego, by the approach made to Socceroos assistant Tony Vidmar to come in and replace Richard Garcia, who was sacked about a week ago now. So Perth on the lookout for their new manager, and they seem to have identified the guy they want there, Tony Vidmar, who is currently with the Socceroos. Previously, though, as you can see, his career milestones, he was with Rangers and a champion with the Central Coast in 2018. In terms of his actual career, his managerial career, he was under 21s manager for Adelaide. He was under 18s manager for Australia, Melbourne City assistant, and then Socceroos assistant boss. So pretty decent pedigree there. Wonder if he's going to be a success and he can really turn around Perth, who again, as you can see, 1 win. They have gone 2 unbeaten now, to be fair. Just 1 win all season, thanks to Chris Economides, his goal on the hour against Sydney FC a week ago. That was really the only high point of the season. They are rooted to the foot of the table and really need somebody like Vidmar in. Pretty sharpish, if you ask me. Sydney FC recorded 2 1-1 draws against both City and ourselves. They have had Patrick Flotman sent to the sidelines for 3 months. He's got a fractured lower leg. Oh, you never like to read that sort of thing. So he's set for a spell on the sidelines. And Parramatta FC seem to have secured a loan deal for young defender Scott Browning. So just 18 years old, he'll spend the remaining months of the season. He's got 16 months on his contract over at Parramatta FC. So some game time coming for him. And as you can see there, we've got the 1-1 draw with ourselves as reported. Wellington Phoenix enjoyed that big 4-0 triumph over Scott Miller's Newcastle Jets. On the score sheet were Ulysses Davila for only his first goal of the season. That's the most surprising thing that I've read so far. Israel international Tomer Hemed and 2 goals for David Ball as Phoenix recorded a comprehensive win against Newcastle Jets. They're still up there, they're still second, they're still doing the business. I do have to say though, this is a bit interesting. Steve Corica interested in both David Ball and Tomer Hemed. So you may remember last week we talked about Tomer Hemed possibly moving abroad already, having garnered some interest from overseas. He's a new signing this season for Wellington Phoenix on a 1-year contract. Could find himself over at Sydney FC. Steve Corica does like a former Knicks player. If you think that he's got Costa Barbaricius up front for him currently. This is the big news in the A-League this year. A 1-1 draw with Perth Glory spelled the end for Carl Robinson at Western Sydney Wanderers. Now there is something that I want to point out. I did not say that I wanted the Western Sydney job. I was linked, I was flattered to be linked, and commented that any manager worth his salt would like to be approached by the Wanderers, which apparently turned into a confirmation of my interest. So much so that the Central Coast Board are hoping that I'm going to stay. I'm not going anywhere, lads. Not interested in going. I have a hefty compensation fee. That's going to put the Wanderers off, you would have thought. So we're all good. Don't get worried about me jumping ship to the Wanderers. Unless they offer a lot of money, which they're not going to. Don't worry. Like Miguel Coley, who has been linked as well, I have nothing more to say, actually, on that one. As you can see here, the news item for Carl Robinson talks about his time with Vancouver Whitecaps, where he won the Canadian Championship. That gets them into the North American Champions League over there. And in terms of the favourites, you're looking at Miguel Coley, Stanley Menzo, and Shota Arveladze at Pax Takor. The Australian Football Informer predicting the A-League sack race. As you can see, Patrick Kisnorbo, Ante Milicic, 6-4. Melbourne City and MacArthur, respectively. Interesting. Didn't expect to see that already. There has been some, let's call them vultures from the NPL, circling around the likes of Tas Mordakutis, Anthony Lesiotis and Mo Adam. They've all been the subject of loan bids from NPL clubs in the aftermath of Carl Robinson's departure. It's almost as if they were waiting for this, and then they've pounced. The likes of Sydney United and Rockdale City Suns, all looking to secure a pretty big fish. And even there's offers in for Fabian Monge. Not aware of him, 19-year-old midfielder. Haven't seen much of him, but as usual, the usual literacy of good club names over in Australia. Oakley Cannons, Bonnyrigg White Eagles, and Green Gully. Fantastic, that's what you want. There's only one thing to rival that, and that is non-league teams over here in the UK. Western United played out at Desmond, a 2-2 draw with MacArthur FC. Mark Rudan has been a busy boy in the press. So first of all, there's the Ivan Vucic situation, where he's basically trying to force a move out the club. But Rudan has put a stamp on that. He's continuing discussions in the hope of a positive outcome. And then he was very much praising striker Besart Berisha for his performance against the Bulls. That leaves us with the table, and as you can see, the Central Coast Mariners have a 6-point cushion at the top of the league over Wellington Phoenix. Sydney FC really missed out on the opportunity. Those 2 draws really set them back. Another 4 points and they'd be up on 26, well in second, and with a game in hand on ourselves. As it stands, they're 8 back, and any way you slice it, they're not going to overtake us just yet. Western United and Western Sydney Wanderers only played 11 games so far, so they've got a couple in hand over the teams around them. Perth Glory still propping up the league, just 6 points from 13 games played this season. Goal difference, as you can see, overwhelmingly positive for the Mariners. Where there is a little bit of concern is we're mid-table where it comes to conceding goals. 19 conceded, which is not brilliant considering all the teams that, MacArthur conceded less than we have. So have Brisbane, down in 7th. Interesting that Western United only scored 13 goals, only conceded 11. So a few quiet games for them, a few 0-0 draws for Mark Rudan's side. In terms of the fixtures, we have a couple. It's a big Saturday, actually. Kicks off with Melbourne Victory against Western Sydney Wanderers. Then we've got 4 games taking place on Saturday. The Raw play Sydney. Ourselves, we host Adelaide United, who are 4th place. MacArthur against Newcastle. Western United against Melbourne City. And then as far as we're concerned, as far as I'm concerned even, the big one, the weekend, it's going to be Perth Glory, bottom of the league, against 2nd place Wellington Phoenix. You'd back Wellington Phoenix to get the win there, but Perth Glory could have Tony Vidmar in the dugout, and that could mean an upturn in fortunes. You never know. Do join me on Thursday. Every week we will play a game in the Mariners Massive, and it will be Adelaide United this week. So we'll see how the Reds do up against our Central Coast. I'll see you on Thursday.